This is André at Midnight's Edge, brought out of hiatus by the news unfolding this last week. Among other things, we've learned that the Incredible Hulk, last seen in the Avengers Age of Ultron, will next be seen in Thor Ragnarok. We also learned that the movie, which is set for a November 2017 release, will be directed by Taika Waititi. In this video, we are going to explore what the movie might bring and just who the New Zealand-born director Taika Waititi is and what he might bring to the proceedings. To help me answer that, I've gotten some local expertise from down under. You see, today I am joined by Chris Mullarby and James Crowhurst from the Choc Tops YouTube channel. Welcome, guys.
André, it is great to be on the channel.
Yeah, good to be here.
We're big fans of Midnight's Edge, so it is an absolute pleasure.
Now, full disclosure here. I know my Hulk comics, huge fan of that. But Thor I know from the movies first and foremost. Of course, being Scandinavian, I know the Norse mythology well enough, but the comics are their own thing. I have no doubt the Marvel comic storyline, Ragnarok, is quite different from the mythological one. So, James, tell me more about Marvel's Ragnarok.
Well, in Norse mythology, Ragnarok is the war to end all wars. It's the grand finale of Valhalla. Everyone is consumed by tidal waves, fire, and lightning, and the gods die spectacular deaths, and the common people drown in a tremendous flood that consumes everything, just everything. It's all gone. When the dust settles, there are just two people left in a rejuvenated, better world. And a short way of saying this is Norse mythology just kicks ass. In Marvel Comics, Ragnarok refers to a cyborg version of Thor, because during the Marvel Civil War, which we'll be getting to kind of soon in these movies, Thor is missing in action. He will take no part in the Marvel Civil War. But luckily, Reed Richards and Hank Pym and Tony Stark have collected a little bit of Thor's hair, and using a little bit of stupid comic magic, they build a robot called Ragnarok, there to finish and pick up where Thor left off. Ragnarok is what Thor's 3's title is meant to inspire. It's the end of the world, doom is coming, everything is coming to an end, and they hint as much in Age of Ultron, albeit in a very clumsy and tacked on kind of way that was openly hated by the director. Anyway, the end of the world is coming, and what might the end of the world be? We've got two current suspects. It might be Thanos, the big bad at the center of Marvel Universe that's been teasing for years now, and Thor looks deeper into this Infinity Stone mystery. Or it could be the Hulk. The most recent news coming from the noisy old MCU is that Mark Ruffalo's Hulk will be finding his way to Asgard. As you can imagine, the internet is all abuzz. People have been speculating about the Hulk since Ultron bit the dust. Will they be adapting Planet Hulk in the next Guardians of the Galaxy? Will they be kicking Captain's butt in Marvel Civil War? Or maybe they just fucked him off to Fiji because Marvel don't really know what to do with the Hulk. All we know is the stakes are high. Tom Hiddleston's back as Loki, he's got the throne, and Thor's coming after the Infinity Stones as Ragnarok happens and the whole world comes tumbling down.
That sounds like it could be quite an awesome movie, and it's going to be exciting to see just how they plan on adapting it for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which of course is its own thing from the comics. Now we know that they have the New Zealand-born director Taika Waititi to helm the movie. And I've seen one movie of his, which is What We Do in the Shadows, which is this really awesome, quirky, essentially like mockumentary about a frat society of vampires. It's really hilarious. Everyone should check that out. But beyond that, I know very little about him. So tell me, what's this guy? What's his background?
Well, it's really exciting for us to see a New Zealander getting this amazing opportunity, and especially someone as deserving as Taika Waititi. We've become a little immune to the message of hiring indie directors that Marvel is so well known for. And if you've seen any of this guy's films, it really is astonishing that someone so brave actually got the job. Waititi is a master of awkward comedy and actually comes from a painting and visual arts background. This is the same man who directed and starred in that film you've watched, so a mockumentary about vampire housemates So it's fascinating to imagine how he would actually approach Thor 3.
Has he shown any directorial trademarks or philosophy, either in his movies or off camera, that might influence how Thor proceeds?
The thing that I think of straight away is that he makes comedies, and every film he's done, every feature film has been a comedy, except they have huge heart. So he's usually telling quite a deep story about relationships or family, but he makes it entertaining. And I mean, that in itself just sounds like any Marvel film that we've seen that's been successful, is that he's able to blend the humor of things, but also makes you come away with the message that he's trying to push. And I think it is fascinating that I've seen a TED Talk that he did recently, and he very much talks about filmmaking just as a way of telling the story he wants to do. So if he finds that he's got a story he wants to tell that would work better as a painting, then that's what he's going to do. He's going to go and, work in a small gallery and do a whole bunch of stuff. If he thinks that he'd be better off doing a music video or an animation, then that's what he's going to do. So he's not that much a king of filmmaking in the, he loves the art, but the thing that he loves about it so much is that he can blend all of these different things that he's learned along the way.
Yeah, and he appears to have quite an eclectic resume, to put it that way, because on the IMDb he's directed TV series like The Strip. Are these things that you have seen?
Definitely Fly the Conchords. I mean, that sort of took over the world when that was coming out.
That was quite big, and it sort of fits in with a lot of the things that he's done are about very small, like individuals, very small people dealing with very small problems with a lot of very quite awkward humour in between. Is in Fly the Conchords, Sharky, or What We Do in the Shadows, which I'm not sure, even though he has a really great comic sensibility, I don't know how well that's going to translate into the Thor universe.
I really hope it's not the situation where you get he's far from inexperienced, but he's inexperienced in Hollywood. I would hate to think that they just choose this guy for just to kind of throw on top of the movie, tell him exactly what to do and say, yeah, you can put some quips in here, but this is the film that we want to make. I really hope they go in the James Gunn direction and let them tell the story that they want to do. As far as them being from New Zealand, because that's kind of our connection, isn't it?
We do have we have a pretty good relationship with New Zealand in making movies, I think, though. A lot of their actors come over here and our actors go over there, from Home and Away and Neighbours, and everything that they make we immediately call dibs on, because Russell Crowe is one of us, right?
That's right.
Russell Crowe's an Australian, not New Zealand. We just take credit for everything they do.
And you also have Chris Hemsworth. He's Australian, surely.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't know it from the film though, would you? He actually pulls off the accent really well. The problem with Chris Hemsworth for us is that the Australian films that he's been in haven't been particularly successful. So most Australians actually discovered him through Marvel.
Until then, he was in a soap opera that we have over here called Home and Away, which a lot of people turn their noses up at. But though it does get a good, it starts off a lot of really good Australian actors. Kylie Minogue was on its counterpart Neighbours,
But anyway, what do you think that Marvel saw in Taika Waititi? Because obviously he comes from a comedy background, and what Marvel has been increasingly better and better at after some misstumbles early on is pairing directors from way, way, way to the left center of the field with properties, and it works out amazing. You have like the TV directors who did Captain America the Winter Soldier. That turned out well. Then you have James Gunn in Guardians of the Galaxy. That turned out amazing. And you think this might be a similar case of that? Of Marvel seeing something in this guy, something in his humor to maybe counteract all the drama that's going on screen?
Well, I think one of the best things about the Marvel films, and what's going to keep them going, what's going to make them last, is that they're all different. We were all kind of talking about this before we started filming this. Every of these Marvel films has got a different genre, a different style, and I think it also comes from James Gunn is totally different to Joss Whedon, who's totally different to Edgar Wright, and this guy is a completely different guy again. He's just from such, like you said, left field, and maybe they're hoping that by picking this guy, they're going to make their Thor movie just stand out again from all the others, in the same way that the Russo brothers made Captain America Winter Soldier stand out too.
I think that they're definitely looking at the past films like Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man and realizing the potential to incorporate more comedy into them. Because it also, I mean, it just widens their audience so much, and somehow it's worked. I mean, Joss Whedon doesn't have universal humor. At least that's what I thought before Avengers came out, and I was completely proven wrong. So I think with this guy, the most fascinating thing is he has a very, very specific style of humor, which is, I mean, it's all about the pauses and the awkward silences.
He takes weird little characters and makes them say weird little things, and then waits for everyone to like people clash and don't get along. It's just such a different style of comedy, which like all the Marvel films sort of share their own Whedon-esque kind of style of comedy, and his is just so different.
One of the things that I'm thinking is that the relation between Thor and Hulk is going to be important, because we saw this already in the Avengers with like they start off as kind of antagonists, and even when they team up then Hulk sucker punches Thor, have like this kind of like banter between them. Do you think that might be one of the reasons why Waititi was chosen for director of this, and how do you think he's going to handle the relation between Thor and Hulk?
I think Waititi is the guy that you get to write the script. As far as him directing the film, I'm not sold, and that's completely, I'm expecting to be proven wrong, because every time Marvel knocks it out of the park. I think with the Thor films, for me, the issue is that besides Loki and Thor, which are great characters that clash together and they make it so interesting, it's all of the side characters that feel quite wasted to me, and I usually struggle to pick out and remember their characteristics like a day after watching the Thor films. I totally think, I mean, I can already picture all the jokes they're going to be able to pull with Thor and Hulk, and yeah, absolutely referencing their relationship and how it's developed since Avengers. However, I'm still just not 100% on the fact that this guy could carry an entire Thor 3 film.
I can't wait to see. I think it's a really interesting move to include Hulk in this movie, because there were so many other movies coming out in this big MCU that he would fit really well into, and I feel like they've never really had a really great place worked out for the Hulk in these films. I think he's always sort of been a bit of a wild card, a bit on the side, and putting him in this, it's such a weird move, it must be brilliant, is what I think. They must have some kind of plan, finally, for the Hulk.
Oh, I have no doubt they do, because the reason we don't get any Hulk solo movies is because Universal still retains the distribution rights for Hulk solo movies, but many have interjected that he probably works better in conjunction with others, so this might work for the time being.
I reckon that he does work very well in like an ensemble cast and with somebody else, but I really would love to see a good Hulk movie where he's by himself. I mean, the TV show ran for such a long time, it was so beloved by everybody when it was on, and it has dated now, but there is some really good principles and ideas in there. I'd love to see a Prison Break fugitive style movie with Bruce Banner on the run and him having to turn into the Hulk but not wanting to, but done really well instead of the one they did with Edward Norton. I think though, I think Hulk and Thor will work really well together, and it might be a good idea for them to maybe sort of sub him out for a while and return in the Infinity Wars. It's an idea for them to sort of get him off Earth so they can kind of prolong the until Mark Ruffalo's contract runs out at least.
I think with a Hulk standalone, it can be done, but they need to at this point realize what doesn't work about the first two and stay away from that formula. I didn't mind the Edward Norton one, but by the second half, suddenly you know what's going to happen by the end of it. There aren't many surprises. I think what Joss Whedon showed us about the Hulk is there is so much to both sides of the character. And I think even in a Hulk standalone film, he's still going to be playing off other characters. But I think they just need to always have him with somebody else in the room.
Part of the Hulk is the Hulk is great, but Bruce Banner needs to shine as well. And Mark Ruffalo puts in a fantastic performance in, but I'm waiting for Bruce Banner to save the day instead of just the Hulk. I'm waiting for that day, which I was expecting was going to happen in both the Avengers movies and just hasn't happened yet. I need Bruce Banner to step up and actually become a bit more of a hero than being just a big green smashy guy.
Speaking of green smashing guy, there is something fun to be said for director Taika Waititi, because this is not his first outing in a big superhero movie. He actually had a cameo in Green Lantern. How did that come about? What do you know about that?
It's fascinating. There's so little written about this, and I think that's just because at this point nobody knew who this guy was besides, Australians and New Zealanders. The one quote I could find him saying about the Green Lantern is that he was on set, and I have in italics, he was thinking, what the fuck am I doing in this movie? And I think it's one of these situations, you just assume that a guy who ends up in a film that's comic book based at this point is like a huge fan of the genres, whether it's the directors or the actors. But this guy in this film, it is such a weird choice, and we just have to think that it's because somehow his management got him the gig and it was too big of an opportunity to give up. But it's a really weird casting choice, and even while he was on set, he was just thinking, what's the connection?
Hopefully it's not going to happen again in Thor Ragnarok, and fingers crossed he'll knock that one out of the park like previous Marvel directors have done as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all power to this guy, and I think what we've learned from people like James Gunn is you just have to give them the benefit of the doubt, give them a storyline to follow, and let them be as creative as possible.